Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. Bob Pompeani with you tonight until 11 o'clock. We do the show 7 nights a week, so don't be a stranger. Call 412-575-2600. You can hit me up on X at KDPomp. And love to hear from you on a variety of things. It's been a very busy weekend. The Penguins had 2 big games. They let one get away yesterday as they lost in a shootout, which has become a trend. They're 1-9 in shootouts, so they got a point. It was a loser point. But today, 2 big points as they went into overtime and didn't want to get to a shootout given that record. And so they ended it pretty quickly. Tommy Novak, just 17 seconds in, beats Jonas Korpisalo, and the Penguins come away with a much-needed 2 points as they embark on probably their most important road trip of the season. This is a big win. It's a significant one, the way they did it. They were down 3 goals, and they were down Crosby, Malkin, and Brazeau. And they came back and won this game against a team that really had been one of the nemesis teams they've had in their schedule. Every time Boston seems to play them, it brings out the best in the Boston Bruins, and not so much the Penguins. But today, they came back, and you got to give them a lot of credit for the heart, the grit they displayed, and they're going to have to take that with them now on a trip, which is 5 different teams, actually 4, 2 of the same team twice on the bookends. It's Carolina starting Tuesday. They'll end the trip with another trip to Carolina. In between, it's Vegas, it's Utah, and it's Colorado. So that schedule is not an easy one, and they find themselves ahead of the Islanders again with a game in hand, and they have to make sure that they just get points whenever they can. So these 2 were huge today, given the fact it was 3-0, the way it looked like it would not happen that way, and it did. So mark it down. This date may be one of those dates. March 8th, is that what today is? 2026. You may want to mark that down and say that's the win that got the Penguins to where they needed to go and make a postseason. I'd like to hear from you on that. Not sure how long Sidney Crosby, we saw him today at the game in the press box. Sounded good, looks like he's ready to go, although, you know, those knees can be interesting, how long it takes. He's not expected to play this week, but you never know. He's a quick healer, and he certainly seems motivated to get back sooner rather than later. Malkin still has 3 games yet to serve on his suspension, so that'll take him through Carolina, and then the first 2 games of that West trip. He's eligible to come back on the 16th against Colorado. We'll talk about that. Also coming up this week, it's the NCAA tournament, and you can see it at PPG Paints Arena. The Atlantic 10 here. It starts Wednesday with a doubleheader, then quadruple headers on Thursday and Friday, semifinal doubleheader on Saturday, the finals on Sunday at 1 p.m. Duquesne is a 7 seed. They'll have an opportunity to play their first game Thursday at 5 against Rhode Island, the 10 seed. They're coming off that win we just showed you in our sportscast. It was highly unlikely, and you know they do those things about what are the percentages of winning at a certain point of a game. They were down by 30 points in the first half, and I'm sure it was like 0.1% chance of winning. Well, they came back and won. It's the biggest comeback in the history of Duquesne basketball, 79-77 on a Dixon follow-up at the buzzer. So it's interesting. I always love this time of the year. Pitt did qualify for the ACC. They had to beat Syracuse yesterday. They needed to go to overtime, and they did. And Robert Morris is playing a big game tomorrow, and they may win their tournament. They may get back to the tournament for the 2nd year in a row. Really great job by Andy Toole. Question I have, and I posed it last week, I'll pose it again. Miami of Ohio is 31-0. Should they get in even if they lose in their conference tournament? 412-575-2600. We'll also talk about free agency in the NFL. It begins tomorrow, and the Steelers are going to be active. You would think they have $50 million to spend. It's technically legal tampering, and then the official day is on Wednesday, but by then we'll know all the moves. And the Pirates, we talked today about Ben Cherington, some of the stuff he had to say to the media, which was basically an indication that it looks like Connor Griffin's going to head back to the minors to start this season, first time in AAA. And they better hope they get off to a good start then, because you don't want to fall behind, especially if they get no production from the left side of their infield. All those topics and more are on the table, so call right now. It's 412-575-2600. A reminder to join us for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. That's tonight at 11:35 KDK with my panel of Jeff Hathorn, Andrew Filipponi, and Mark Caboli. We'll kick it around for you. A lot of topics to cover there and a lot of topics to cover here. So want to hear from you. Call us. Let us know what you think right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're live 7 nights a week on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. We'll be right back. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night from our friend Josh Yohe at The Athletic. What theater? Penguins absolutely awful in front of their net all day. Shelov's bad first 2 periods, magnificent in the third. Tons of guts from the Penguins. Erik Karlsson is their best player right now. Spectacular again today, and he really was. Take control of everything out there. Karlsson has had a real solid season from start to finish. And yes, it was kind of loosey-goosey in front of Shelov's. In fact, he contributed to his own problems by letting a puck play him behind the net and tried to get it to one of his defensemen, and David Pastrnak took it right away from him. And at that point, it looked bad. They're down 3-0. They got the 2-man advantage, scored once, carried that momentum into the third period, and then just had a tremendous third period. So much needed for sure for the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're talking about all this stuff and more. I want to get one other thing out there, and that would be about these players who are not tagged and now become free agents in the NFL, because we're going to see a lot of these names. The Steelers certainly have a couple of those. Calvin Austin is one of them. Kenneth Gainwell, their MVP of their team this year, is another. But Kenneth Walker was not franchised by Seattle. A lot of people were a little surprised by that. I get the feeling he's going to end up in Kansas City. Kansas City would love to have a 3-down back. He is that in Seattle. He's kind of these, he shares a lot of time with Jacques Charbonnet. So that may be a play they're going to make. And I'm just wondering, if you're a Steeler fan, would you be interested in Kenneth Walker if you can get him at the expense of Kenneth Gainwell? Also, Alec Pierce is a name I want to keep following because he's a wide receiver from Indianapolis, had a good year. He was not franchised. He could be available to somebody, and the Steelers certainly need wide receiver help. I think they'll draft a wide receiver in the first round, but I also think they'll probably sign one or two. And there's some other guys out there as well, but it will be interesting. And even though we're not allowed to talk about it, or we will talk about it, teams can't until Wednesday. All of this starts tomorrow at noon, and you'll see a flurry of activity, just as we did last year. When the Steelers picked up a bunch of people, including Slay and Eccles and DK Metcalf. It'll be wild and woolly tomorrow, no doubt about it. All right, let's get to the lines. At 412-575-2600, we have Chuck in Blanox, who's first here tonight. Hello, Chuck in Blanox.
How you doing, Bob?
Good, thank you. What's up?
I was thinking about, what about taking O'Neal Cruz out of center field and putting him at third base, because he has a big bat. It's a lot easier to find a center fielder than it is a third baseman with a big bat. What do you think about that?
No, I don't think he's played there, nor do I think they trust him there. He had a lot of errors at shortstop. They hope he reduces his production out there in center field in terms of errors. He's fine out there. Connor Griffin eventually is going to be at short, and whether it's Triolo or Gonzalez, someone else will be at third. But no, I do not see that. What I want to see from Cruz is a much better batting average, more steals, and more home runs and power. He can deliver. Maybe this is the year he puts it all together. It would be nice, because regardless of what they brought in from the outside, the internal people also have got to pick it up a notch. That includes him, that includes Reynolds, that includes Henry Davis as well. Let's go out to John in Cranberry. Hello, John. How are you?
Hey, Bob. Happy Sunday night to you. It's good to talk to you.
Thanks. You too.
I wanted to talk college basketball. So first of all, I'm glad Pitt snuck in the ACC tournament. I'll be rooting for Andy Toole. What a job he did after taking them to the tournament last year and losing so many guys. So I'll be watching him. And then, of course, Duquesne. I turned it off and turned it back on, and thankfully I did in the second half. And Tim Benz did a great job in that amazing
He really
comeback.
did. Yeah, I tweeted Benzie about that. I thought he did a great call right at the end. That's not easy to do because of so many things going on at the time, but he nailed it.
He really did. So, Bob, and last thing, so what I want, you laid down the groundwork. My big thing, I love college basketball, Miami of Ohio. So let's say they go to their tournament, they're 31-0, they win the quarterfinal, they win the semifinal, they go to 33-0. Let's say they lose to Buffalo or Toledo, they're 33-1. I looked their out-of-conference schedule. It didn't look that strong. So what do you think is going to happen? Since it's a one bid league, and they usually take 8 or 9 teams from the Big Ten, the SEC, and the ACC, do you think at 33-1 Miami of Ohio gets in if they lose?
Well, I think
my call.
Yeah, that's a great call. Thank you, John. I think they deserve it, just because they tried. I don't know if you saw the story with the Red Hawks. They returned a lot of kids from last year's team, and a lot of other teams were didn't want to get involved with him because that could be a loss at home. And you have to remember that they're going to have to go to big name schools, and those big name schools have to pay them to go there. And the last thing you want to do, and Pitt experienced this year, is to lose to those teams when you pay them to come here to lose, and then you lose. They could not find anyone who wanted to bring them in, so they were stuck with what they had to put together in a non-conference. Their conference is weak. Their strength of schedule is terrible. I get all of that. But to me, there's something to be said for going 33-0 in a basketball season, and okay, you lose your final game. They can make it easy and win it all, and then they'll be in. But apparently there's only going to be one team from that conference gets in. It's going to be the conference winner. And 33-0, I think you'd have to reconsider that a little bit. We'll see, though. I'm sure that's going to be one of the things that's highly discussed. And also highly discussed is our KDKA.com/connect poll of the night, brought to you by Penn West University. And this is it. Which is more important for Pitt basketball, a new coach or a bigger NIL budget? That's something that they're going to have to be dealing with. And there is a report out there that Jeff Capel may be on his way out based on money that has reportedly been, gathered by the athletic staff to pay his buyout. So we'll see how that goes. But Pitt's going to have a hard time just winning one game, I think, in the ACC based on where they are. But it would be nice to see them go on a little bit of a roll as well. Let's go back to the lines. We've got Chuck in Uniontown. Hello, Chuck. How are you?
Good evening, thanks. Bob, if O'Neal Cruz gets off to a bad start, was there any chance Pirates would cut ties with him? Also, any of these people, Garcia, Mangum, Cook, York, any of those factor into a starting lineup possibility? Thanks.
Thank you, Chuck. Well, first of all, Joe Stinson Garcia is pretty good, but he's not going to be on this team. York and Cook could be, depending on how they construct their roster, as utility kind of guys. They're not going to shy away from Cruz, Chuck. They're not. They have too much that they really invest in him. They want to see it come to fruition. He has all the talent in the world. If you saw his home run the other day for Dominican Republic, he absolutely crushed it. That power is so intriguing. They need to bring out more of it, and maybe having Ozuna on the team this year helps him. Just like Chinakhov came here for the Penguins, and Malkin kind of took him under his wing, and he had a good influence on him, and maybe that's something that the Pirates can utilize as well. Jim joins us in Freeport. Hello, Jim. How are you?
Yeah, Bob, thanks for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering who your pick is for the Masters this year. Thank you.
All right, Jim. Well, first of all, it was a good finish today in the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Akshay Bhatia needed one extra hole to beat Daniel Berger, and Batia's an up-and-coming guy, man. He's a good ball striker. He was putting lights out this week to win that tournament. This week they got the Players Championship. As far as the Masters, I haven't even thought about that, to be honest. But, the normal, usual guys you would think of are on that list. You bring in some of the guys from the Live Tour who are, major winners who are eligible to play in these majors here in this country. I'll think about it. I'm not going to give you an answer right now because I know there's some other people out there that I really want to consider strongly. Guys like Daniel Berger, guys like Bhatia, both of those guys are playing good golf right now and could be the people. It's hard not to take Scheffler. It's hard not to take Rory McIlroy. So there are a lot of other names. I'll come up with one in a few weeks if you don't mind. Let's go to Matt and Butler. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Hey, Bob. Good evening.
Good evening.
Two quick comments. Your Pitt basketball, your question for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how important the new coach was for the Penguins. That's my first comment.
Mm-hmm.
Second comment is, if you look at the catching position for the Pirates, today's game, I think they said Henry Davis is 0 for 10. Bart was 1 for 16 or 18 or something like that, and Endy had a couple hits. The catcher position's another one we got to get some bats going.
Well, even Flores, they brought him in a big trade. I don't know what he's done. I haven't paid attention to it. But they have 4 guys there. And you're right, Davis has made a lot of strides defensively. He needs to make those same sorts of strides offensively. He's a number 1 overall pick. He, more than anyone else, has the pressure on him to do it. They need production out of a catcher, no question. When they drafted him, you probably thought to yourself, well, you're going to get a catcher who's going to hit 20 home runs, because that's what you thought of with a guy who's 1-1 in the draft. You got to get that kind of production, and that would give you an additional position which brings in some run production that normally it doesn't. Well, it's not been that way. Andy Rodriguez had a couple of hits today. He had an RBI as well. Maybe he returns there, but they're pretty well, I think, positioned with Davis because Skeens loves him. So does Chandler as a receiver. And then you have Joey Bart, who's, maybe they could trade Bart and get something, but again, 1 for whatever he's hitting is not going to open up some trade doors potentially. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. We'll take a break, come back, talk about some NFL issues concerning the free agency, which begins. There's already a couple of trades that are made. Will the Steelers actually get involved in trade acquisitions? We'll talk about it next, right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani back with you until 11 o'clock at 412-575-2600 is the number to call. Got some interesting stuff in the NFL. Max Crosby, of course, already acquired for 2 number-1 picks. Baltimore needed somebody to put pressure on a quarterback, and they got their man, but Steve Price, 2 number-1 picks, and that now means the Raiders have 2 picks in the first round, so they'll have 1 and 14. The Jets have 2 and 16. 3 other teams have 2 picks, and that includes the Browns at 6 and 24. Let's go back to the lines. We've got Phil in Uniontown. Hello, Phil. How are you?
Hello. I wanted to put a vote in for the poll that you're having.
Okay.
I would want a new coach, definitely. He's had 8 years there, and I think just made the tournament once.
Right. That's it. And this year was a disappointing year, given what they thought they were going to be. To just be one of barely making it into the ACC conference tournament is not a good look, and the standards are certainly higher than that. And 8 years is a good amount of time. He still has time left on a contract, I believe, through 29-30. So it's going to cost some money, and apparently Alan Green, the athletic director, may be considering that. I'm sure he has a list of people he'd like to bring in, but NIL is just as important. You know, you still have to play the game, the transfer portal. A team like Marquette has not involved themselves in that or NIL. They don't get very much involved in that stuff. I mean, to some degree they do, but the way the game is being played right now, you got to come up with a budget for players, and it's got to be a healthy budget. So they got a lot of issues to deal with over there at Pitt. As far as Robert Morris is concerned, you saw them get to the NCAA tournament last year, and you thought, how are they going to do it this year? They lost their entire team to NIL, and yet here they are with a whole new cast of characters, and Andy Toole has done a wonderful job. So he has a chance with 2 more wins to get to the NCAA tournament again. Not many people would have thought that would be possible after they got raided last year with their NIL. Let's go to Tom in North Versailles. Hey, Tom, what's going on tonight?
Yes, sir. Why would you consider Aaron Rodgers, if they're going to run a West Coast offense, why would you even consider him as even being the quarterback? You need a running quarterback to run that kind of offense.
Especially now that you got Max Crosby in the division as well twice a year. Yeah, that is a shortcoming, and that's certainly something that Aaron Rodgers no longer can do, not the way he used to do it. So we haven't heard, other than his interview the other day, and he shed no light on whether or not he was ready to sign here. He said it's still a free agent. It takes 2 to tango. He gave you all these little indirect reasons to think they still haven't really come to any conclusion. And I thought by now they would have had a conclusion, because tomorrow starts this period. There are some free agent quarterbacks out there who have more mobility, certainly. Kyler Murray is one of them after the Cardinals let him go. And then you have Malik Willis, who, short sample size, but looked good in that one game they had for Green Bay against Baltimore. So, they got to figure this out sooner, and I thought it'd be done by now, quite frankly. This is year 2. It shouldn't take this long. Whether it's him holding it up or them not offering or whatever the case may be, they need to get that figured out as soon as possible, because they're knocking on the door already. Maybe we'll learn something tomorrow. I don't know. But all I know is if it's not Aaron Rodgers, then they better have, and I'm sure they have a plan B and a plan C and whatever else they want to do. But it could be making a bid for one of those quarterbacks. It's going to cost a lot of money. Because anytime you have multiple teams involved in a bidding war, the price goes up. The cap goes up this year, so a lot of these teams have more money to spend. Going to be an interesting day tomorrow, and it starts at noon, and so you'll see a flurry of activity, I'm sure, at noon, carrying on throughout the rest of the day. That's going to do it for me here tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we do this show 7 nights a week. Don't be a stranger. Call 412-575-2600. And tonight, it's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Filipponi, Hathorn, and Caboli join me. We hope you do too. That's after the late news on KDKA. Bob Pompeani signing off from the Fan Cave. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it again tomorrow night. Same time, same station, right here, 10:35 for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Good night.